we're going to be taking off weight on this podcast. Hello, I'm Dan Milliken.
And I'm Christy Wong.
Okay, well, maybe we're not actually taking off weight during the podcast, but we did a podcast episode, a little bit off of the aviation thing, although I think it's important. And that was, we talked about weight loss and our own exercise regimen and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just staying healthy.
Yeah, and I was surprised at how popular that episode was. So I thought we'd do an update because... you've been exercising and
yes.
I've been eating donuts and, I have been eating donuts. However, I've recently said, okay, enough is enough. And I've gone back on keto for a while, but I can't stay there, but I will get back down.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I've been dieting now I'm on day 4 and I went on a shoot for Airplanes and Coffee for their new show on Arrowverse. And they brought donuts, but I was strong and I did not partake.
I'm proud of you.
Okay, so Christy, update. You get a lot of comments and stuff on. You've been journaling your fitness and weight fight on social media. So talk about some of the things you've been getting.
Okay, so first of all, I really dislike the word dieting.
Okay.
Because there's just such a negative connotation when you say, oh, I'm on a diet or I'm dieting or whatever. It's weird because we're all dieting in a way. It's just,
I'm wearing a sock with the word diet on it.
No, it's not that.
Diet Coke.
It makes it sound like it's really restrictive and stuff. And what it really should be about is it's a lifestyle. It's a series of habits and lifestyle changes that lead to, better health results, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm not, I know this sounds terrible. I'm not doing it to lose weight.
Okay.
I'm on a big journey to increase my health span. So weight is a symptom or I guess a result, if you will, of your overall health and lifestyle choices.
Okay. Although I will say that I'm not of that philosophy. I just want to get weight off, but I do understand what you're saying, and I do think that weight is simply the byproduct of things.
Absolutely, yeah. It's weight is a huge factor in like we said, it's a result. It's the result of how you're treating your body.
Yeah, you're eating more calories than you're spending. It all boils down to that.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, yeah. If you really wanted to oversimplify it, sure. There's definitely a lot of other things, scientifically speaking, that go behind it. But, for me, I know I've done things in the past. I used to be really, really skinny, really skinny. At one point, 10 years ago-ish, I got down to 120 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And I'm 5'8". So, I was really, really thin. And for several years, I hovered right around about 130 pounds. And I go back and I look at those pictures now and I just look at it and I go, wow, I was really, really skinny. And I don't know that I felt fine physically, but I look at that now and I go, I think my happiest diet or the happy medium that I was in was about 140 pounds. And right now I hover about 150, but there's a few differences there as well. I've gained more muscle.
Yeah.
Because even when I was really skinny, I wasn't really working out. The most I did was I was coaching my daughter's softball team. But
right.
Yeah. Now I work out. I still watch my intake. I don't like to say diet, but I do watch my food intake in terms of what I eat. You saw what I had for lunch today.
Yeah.
So we're in the studio today. We're filming a bunch of stuff and we're working on stuff. And, Dan typically likes to just go pick something up at Whataburger, his classic Diet Coke and cheeseburger.
Which I'm not doing these last 4 days.
Proud of you. I made some keto lasagna this week, and I literally brought my little lunch pail And that's what I ate today for lunch was my keto lasagna.
And I ate a Diet Coke.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Caffeine free, by the way.
I mean, yeah.
There is that at least.
Right. And sometimes we go through these like fasting periods where we're not doing it on purpose. Like I know today we've just been really, really busy and you haven't had a chance to do that because you've done a lot. So it's not like you're doing that on purpose.
Right. It's been a busy day, yes.
It's been a very busy day.
And actually I kind of like that when you get so busy that you don't have time to think about how hungry you are.
So true statement. When I was really, really skinny, it's because I was so busy, I would go all day without eating. I'd get home, I'd eat just a little bit.
That's what I was going to ask is how you were skinny. Was it because of,
Go, 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 go. When I was working in allergy.
Wow.
I was literally traveling from one clinic to the next, working with employees, working with doctors, working with whatever. I mean, I was literally just all over the place.
Well, usually traveling leads to, at least in my experience, worse food intake decisions.
I don't like eating out.
Oh, see, I love eating out.
Yeah, see, I don't. I just have this really, really weird mindset about it because it costs so much money. I'm really weird about money. That's the one thing that you have to.
So you were skinny because you were worried about money.
Well, I mean, that was one aspect of it. I mean, there were other aspects. Like I prefer to eat home cooked stuff. Like I prefer not to eat stuff that like I go, if there's been one time recently, I went out to eat. Steve and I took Mitchell out to dinner. And I was like, yeah, sure. It was a restaurant that I had been to like a long time ago. I haven't been there in a long time, but I was like, sure, let's go. And like the smell of the atmosphere, because they're using like vegetable oils to cook stuff. I mean, it just, everything smelled gross. And
see, now I'm getting hungry.
Oh my gosh, stop it. It just, for me, because I've been out of that environment for so long and I really don't ever go out to eat. So I get there and it just smelled gross. And then I tried to eat it and then I felt gross after I ate and I didn't even eat that much. I gave their leftovers to them. And yeah, I was like, yeah, I can't do this.
All right, we're talking about weight loss, but we are an aviation channel. Mm-hmm. Bring weight loss. Why is it important for aviators?
It's super important because you have to be able to keep that first or second class medical if your livelihood depends on flying.
Okay, so professional pilots, it's super critical.
Right.
Okay, but I'm going to try not to bait you into getting into trouble because I know.
Oh, no.
So, but there are some very large professional pilots, aren't there?
I mean, there are. Everybody's got a different health scenario. Everybody's got their own health journey. And it's not up to me to determine whether or not somebody is.
We don't need to hate or shame anyone or anything else.
No, I focus on myself.
Right.
I don't focus on other people. I mean, there's a lot of science out there and they can work with their physicians and AMEs and whatnot. And I'm going to focus on mine. My goal is not just to stay, a lot of people are like, oh, I want to live long. I want to live long. And statistically, that's like great. Like, yeah, especially in America and first world countries, people are living longer. But the question is, are they healthy? Are they enjoying their lives? Are they mobile? Usually between the ages of 60 and 80, you see this huge decline in individuals because their health span goes down. So sure, they're alive, but like, how many medications are they on? And are they mobile and things? And these are all things that I consider because of my own family's history. And there's a lot to unpack there when it comes to their health. Everybody in my family, like my mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, they're all passed away. Mm-hmm. But at different stages of in their lives did they pass away and from different reasons. So like my great-grandmother, she was alive until she was almost 95. And she was or 94. Yeah, she lived a long time. But when I go back and I remember my great-grandmother, she very rarely ate out. She cooked, her meals at home. Her one vice was every now and then she wanted a little scoop of ice cream. That was her one vice. But she was never overweight in her life. I mean, I remember this woman went horseback riding on her 80th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was extremely mobile. Like she took care of herself. And toward the end of her life at the end, it was like her late 80s and early 90s, she finally hired an in-home like healthcare nurse to come and help her with some stuff. And we had to beg her to do that because she was like, I mean, this woman was like white glove clean, and she would bend over and clean her house. And like, that's what I want to be. My grandmother, who I love very much, she passed away at the age of 81. She was almost 82. This was in 2020, and she had an aortic aneurysm. And she, you know, she did suffer from being overweight for a while, and she struggled with that, you know. And my mom, my mother she teetered back and forth in her life being obese. Like for a majority of her life, she was overweight and like clinically obese. And she died a week after she turned 50.
Wow.
I mean, she was young. Like when you put into perspective that I'm 41 now, like, sorry guys, that's, yeah, like I'm in my 40s. And I think about my own mother and the fact that she died, you know, not even 10 years older than I am now. That's a huge realization. Like that really gets me going. And that is a huge impetus for me to step back and look at myself and go, okay, first of all, well, I want to live until I'm well into my 90s, but I don't want to be bound to a wheelchair, bedridden or whatever, if I can help it, And that's why I do what I do.
Okay. And so I think about like the lifestyle that the professional pilots have. And so help me understand, because I would imagine with, you know, not you, but me, I love eating out. I love grabbing greasy fast food. It's sounding great right now, but of course, how does a professional pilot, travel and be able to not gain a ton of weight?
I mean, for me, it's not that difficult because I just do the exact same thing I do at home, which is I cook my food, I prepare my meals. Kevin and we prepare all of our meals for the week. So like yesterday before he left for work, he went down, came downstairs and we prepared his food for the week because he was going on a 4-day trip. So we just meal plan and pack our food for the whole 4 days.
Okay. So for me, I'm not going to do that. And there's probably other people out there like me that's too much work.
Well, let me put this scenario in your head. It's actually a lot more convenient when you bring your own food, especially when you're like for example, so yesterday, because of the bad weather and everything, he wound up getting reassigned. He wound up having to deadhead to Lubbock last night. They didn't get in until like after midnight. Nothing's going to be open. So what do you do if you get to the hotel and it's midnight and there's nothing open?
Denny's.
I mean, but even still, now you're calling Uber Eats, or you're trying to get, like, are you really going to want to go out at midnight, to go to a Denny's to go get food? No, like but he had his food right there. You bring your food with you and it's right there. You just prepare it and boom, done.
Okay. However, for me, it's not about convenience.
What is it about?
Eating fast food, eating the greasy hamburger is not about, it's just convenient. It's more, it's probably some kind of deep-rooted psychological issue from my dysfunctional childhood. But the bottom line is that I would, if you had a turkey sandwich packed and right there, and I have it in my lunch bag, or I could go grab pizza buffet, I'd go grab pizza buffet. I mean,
that just seems like so much time and money wasted.
It's so good.
So you know what's funny? You and I have talked about this before, but like we both came from like severely dysfunctional childhoods.
Right.
But I think our psychology is just so different.
It is. I agree.
Well, we grew up super poor. I mean, like poverty, like below poverty kind of thing. Like they took one look at me and they were like, oh, this kid gets like free lunch and free breakfast and free after school. Like we were so poor. So we did not get like good home cooked meals.
Christy, I lived in a tent for a while in high school.
Oh, I trust me, I was homeless for a portion.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I mean, seriously, like
sounds like we're trying to one up each other. Oh, you think yours was bad.
I'm saying I relate to that.
No, I know.
I relate to that. But the difference is that I will never forget going over to friends' houses and the parents would like make these wonderful home cooked meals. Did you know when I was a kid growing up, like Kraft mac and cheese was a luxury to me, an absolute luxury. Like we got our base meals were oftentimes the store brand, the big bags of store brand cereal with powdered milk. And we'd have to put tap water in it and like mix it together. It's pretty terrible.
There was a time where I ate cereal with water because we didn't have any milk.
Yeah.
Warm water is what you have to do.
Yeah,
Makes it palatable.
Yeah, we got powdered milk and it was pretty terrible. But
Well,
usually by the third week of the month that was gone. But where I'm going with that though is the psychology behind it is
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this on the psychology issue and trying to understand it, because we come from a similar dysfunctional background,
I love
yet
it.
we are so different on our dietary, I use that word on purpose, choices.
Is it old pilots or bold
So let me
pilots?
ask you this: thank you. When you were growing up, going through the junior high, high school, that was the real formative time for me.
Yeah.
Did somebody make even late elementary? Did somebody make your meals?
No.
So, how did you eat when you were in 5th, 6th grade?
Oh gosh, we're getting into it now, you guys.
We already have. I mentioned 10th,
I know. Okay. So we were children of the system, basically. My mom was on welfare.
so
and
you
food
get
stamps.
welfare stuff.
Ish.
Okay.
Oh gosh, here we go. Okay. So for a good period of time during those formative years, she would disappear.
Okay.
And so we would usually see her once a month during that like first week where she would get her monthly food stamps. She'd go bulk shopping, drop it off, and then we wouldn't see her again for a month. So we would get the big bags of cereal and like whatever store brand foods, and we would have to make that last.
Was there an adult in the house when she was gone?
There was.
Your grandmother?
No, it was
Oh.
actually a great aunt that was
Okay.
just kind of there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a whole story. I could write a 100 chapter book on my life
Right.
because it gets wild. When I look back and think about it, I go,
Holy cow.
yeah, exactly. So
Well, and that's why I asked, because so for me, I had to just fend for myself.
yeah, same.
Parents would buy stuff, and it ended up like, when I start thinking 5th, 6th grade, there was a time where there were home cooked meals and stuff, and they would cook. I remember, very traumatic here. They would cook liver and make us eat it, and we'd sneak it to the dogs or whatever we could do to get by after we ate a little bit. But I still cannot eat liver, and maybe there's some psychology there. And probably it was getting that McDonald's cheeseburgers is what made me feel loved. It's probably the psychology. I hate to admit it, but
Oh man, I have a really sad story. Sad because it's pathetic. My favorite thing as a kid, I would literally go scrounge for scraps of whatever food. And I remember I was the oldest of 4 kids, and it was like me and my brother, we would go outside and we would we grabbed this like pot.
Okay.
And we filled it full of water, and we literally put the just like random scraps of whatever we could find into this pot, and we would like cook it. We would start this little fire, and we'd like camp outside. We were on this.
This is horrible, Christy.
It's so bad. Like we would literally like make this food, and to
Okay,
us,
you win.
To us, that was a beautiful thing. Like we would make like our soup. Like literally,
my
that's
gosh.
that. I'm not even joking.
See, I was going to bring up the fact that there was a time I even ate dog food, but you win.
No, okay. So one time the fire got out of control.
Oh no.
And we were panic stomping it out. And remember, we ran over, and I don't even remember what we used to cover it up, but we covered it up. And we were like, okay, we'll never tell anybody that this happened. Because I mean, it like.
And now you're announcing it to the world.
No, well, what had happened is I think it was my little sister. She saw the thing go down, and then she went and told our great aunt. And so we got in huge trouble for it. And I wasn't allowed to make my outdoor soup anymore. And
Bummer.
that was like super tragic to me, because that was such a sense of like independence. And I mean, it was like nourishment, and I didn't want to eat cereal with whatever. During the school year, I got breakfast and I got lunch every day.
Yeah, but see, I never got enough, and so I was always begging off of my friends who weren't going to eat this or that.
Yeah. I mean, I felt okay. I was a really, really, really skinny kid. And I know that I probably had some like calcium deficiencies and stuff. But, you know, I mean, I think the psychology there is what I felt. I felt loved if all I wanted was like the normal family. Like I just wanted like, let's just make dinner and sit down and have dinner together kind of thing. And I did not get that. And so when I would go visit my aunt or my grandmother, you know, they did cook. We cooked together.
Okay, now some things are starting to click. So for me, I remember my grandfather would pick us up after school in second grade-ish kind of time. And I always loved it because we would stop at an old fast food that chain that went away called Burger Chef. So if anybody remembers Burger Chef.
I have never heard of a Burger Chef.
But we would go there. He'd pick up me and my sister, and we would go there and eat. So maybe that's what started the I'm loved if I'm eating a greasy cheeseburger.
You know, it's really weird because so I had a really, really good friend growing up, you know, again, junior high formative years. His name was Jason. We're still loose friends to this day, but his mom was kind of like a surrogate mom to me. I loved this family. They were my family, and they took me under their wing, and they were incredibly religious. And so every Wednesday and every Sunday we were going to church. And, you know, no matter what your beliefs are or whatever, like I loved the community of it. And so we would go on, I think it was like Wednesday nights when we would go to church, we would always stop off at Taco Bell, and we get the 69-cent tacos and the bean burritos, and we'd get the fire sauce. And like, to me, that was it was kind of like you said, you felt loved. They spent, I mean, I would get like 2 or 3 things. I'd get like, I don't know, a burrito and a taco. So we're talking less than $2. But that to me was such a huge show of like affection and love. I don't eat Taco Bell anymore, but I still think about that.
Yeah.
So this topic, by the way, just went completely different. Like psychology
we
with Dan and Christy.
Way down.
But that's why. But I think it's important though, because we are all about context.
Because it's not
Humans
about
are context.
a diet. It's about what's driving all that stuff.
But you have to have an internal motivation. So for me, you know, it's funny. I mean, I could lose the 10 or 20 pounds or whatever. I could lose 10 pounds. I know I can because I've done it before. The problem is that when Kevin is working and when I am working, that is when I eat the best. Because now I literally meal plan my food. I don't get hungry to like eat all this extra stuff, whatever. But I'm telling you right now, when he and I are home and we're spending time together, like
snack time.
Well, no, it's not snacks. I just want to cook these big, beautiful meals for us.
Oh, okay.
And because again, to me, that's like a display of like love and affection.
Because you go back to the home cooked meal thing.
I go back to, and you know, I'm actually realizing some of this as we're talking about it now.
I know, me too.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, to you, the love was home cooked meals. For me, the love was going by cheeseburgers.
Well, and I think a lot of that too has to do with our love languages. So, you know, the 5 love languages, I don't know how like into that
I have not gotten into that, and I don't know I know I've heard it told before, so I could probably guess at a few of them, but
you know,
affirmation or whatever.
I am really into that because I have learned so much about it, and it's true. Like if you apply these love languages like within your life, you learn a lot about not only yourself but your friends and your partner and whatnot. And so my number 1 love language is quality time. So if we're spending time together, cooking, making these meals, eating together, that's a huge thing for me.
So the person with you should always be on their phone and stuff like that.
Yeah, no. But the other thing is words of affirmation and acts of service are huge. Those are like my top 3. Physical touch, okay. And gifts to me is a 0. Every single time, gifts is a 0. Throughout all stages of my life. Like I would rather spend time with you. Don't give me anything. Just give me your time, because that's something that you can't, it's such a precious commodity. And so the acts of service, you know, you're making this meal and we're making it together. And I mean, it just brings my love languages together. So nothing makes me feel more loved than that.
So somebody gave me the gift of a pepperoni pizza and served it to me, service.
Well, there you go.
Now you're speaking my love language.
See, I want you to go online now and take the love language quiz.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
You should do that because it'll really tell you. It tells you a lot about yourself too, and it tells you about your internal motivations.
Well, yeah, okay. It's still probably not going to happen, but I hear you.
I tried.
You tried.
See, I like learning more about myself as an individual and how I can better serve those people around me, including myself. Like I'm trying to make the most of my life. And so that kind of leads into the whole health thing. It's full circle because.
Well, yeah, and it speaks to what you were saying is the motivation behind why you do it. And I think about it like, so for you, long life, healthier when you're not decrepit and
I want to be 90 years old and still flying.
Right. So for me, I immediately think of just Martha Lunkin, but for me, it's not that.
Okay.
For me, I look back, I never did a diet. I just did what I did and eventually just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I started looking at the gyro, and the gyro is very weight sensitive compared to the Cessna 210 that I have. And so everything was, oh, wow. I mean, if I actually, the first time I started dieting, I counted it in gallons of avgas.
I remember that.
Right.
You were like, I lost, 2 gallons.
3 gallons of avgas.
Yeah.
And that's because I was flying a very small, lightweight sport craft.
Yeah.
And so that's, to me, I mean, it's hard to, it sounds silly that that's a motivation, but
anything's a motivation. It can be, you know what, let it be silly.
Or when I'm editing in the hangar and I'm seeing myself sitting there or this, and I'm just going, oh my gosh, that becomes a motivation. But, and maybe that's where I have had more self-loathing in editing these in the hangars and stuff than I've had in any time in my life.
It's tough. I watched that episode of You, Me, and Brian, and I just kept looking at it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm aging. It's as opposed to back in 2018 when we first started this. I look at myself now, and I'm like,
thinner.
I know. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm 41, and I'm starting to look like it, and
Well, and crazy thing about it is that I do. Twice a year, going into in the hangar and going into AirVenture, I do kind of get serious about getting back on keto and everything else.
Yeah, motivation.
And that's motivation. And I did not do that going into this in the hangar, and I was 10 pounds heavier than I've ever been. And maybe that's my motivation now because we're not going to be doing a whole bunch of in the hangars coming up soon, but enough's enough. And so I've got to lose some weight.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about aging and stuff like that, obviously I can't turn back the clock, but having a healthy lifestyle does contribute toward, looking and feeling younger. And, I mean, I don't see myself as one of those people that's going to get the Botox or the fillers, or I'm not going to get surgical intervention to try to make myself look a certain way. I'm going to just accept it and roll with it. I mean, nobody can, I guess, hate on me for that.
No, and I like what you said. You want to be flying when you're in your 90s.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that brings it back to aviation. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for following us down a really winding rabbit hole here.
Yeah, exactly. We're Psychology Today with Dan and Christy.
Or Diet is a Dirty Word with Christy and Dan. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, our sponsors, Colton Mortgage, Colton Taking Off, Marshall Protective Services, Personal Protection Elevated, MPSprotects.com, 67 designs. Oh my gosh, I love their mounts. I use them all over my plane for not only cameras, but for cell phones. Z-Vision, xevision.com, the brightest landing and taxi lights out there. Clemens Insurance, clemensinsurance.net. Jerry has indeed saved me a lot of money on my insurance. So,
did we say Colton?
Yes, that was the first one, but I didn't say the one that.
Oh yeah, Flying Eyes. Don't forget Flying Eyes. I would never forget Flying Eyes.
Use our discount code, taking off all caps, one word, for 10% off at flyingeyesoptics.com. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll get back to some aviation. We'll talk to you later.